Hey, good morning. Well, obviously, I'm not on the East Coast anymore. I'm back in the Southwest. It's the beautiful valley to the north of my home. The sun's not quite up yet. I live in a valley, and there are two ridges, one there and one there. And pretty soon, the sun will be coming up over the ridge here to my left. And it'll get very bright here on the front porch. I'm on the front porch sitting on a bench that's probably 100 years old, I guess. How old am I? Anyway, 100 years or so. It's a beautiful bench. It's a beautiful valley. There may be some trees growing out of my hair here. No, there's a big saguaro, see it? And I want to do a very short tutorial on those saguaros, give you a little more information. They're fascinating plants with a very complex kind of structure and ecosystem, and I'll share all of that with you sometime. But this morning, I wanted to say a word or two about active and passive voice in writing. I believe that a lot of people write based on what they hear in their head. They hear something said a certain way and they write that way. And that creates sometimes a more safer form of communication. You know, it avoids conflict. But the problem is the active voice is more direct. And the passive voice, not so much. And sometimes you want to be more direct, if only to shorten things down and make it easier for your reader to read through your novel. An example, for example, of an active voice is, everyone enjoyed the train ride. That's an active voice. In this case, the subject performs the action. The passive of that sentence, everyone enjoyed the train ride, would be, the train ride was enjoyed by everyone. It's not wrong. It's just not as active. In that case, of course, the subject receives the action instead of the subject actually doing the action. I found that much of my writing can be cleaned up just by looking at times when the passive voice said too much. There were too many words. It kind of softened the action down, and I didn't want that. There is a place for passive voice. Let me give you a couple other examples. Here is the passive voice this time. The cake was baked by Margaret. It's not a bad sentence. The cake was baked by Margaret. Active voice, Margaret baked the cake. See the difference? Very often, by the way, the passive voice is distinguished by the use of linking verbs such as was and had and been to link them. It is a good way to recognize it. The passive voice can be useful when you want to emphasize the action taking place and not necessarily a person doing the action. Maybe a case where what happens is more important than who said what happened. So anyway, think about it. I went back through my writing, and I noticed that I used the passive voice too often, and that it really kind of bogged things down. It's like sticking your feet in mud. It slowed you down. There is a place for passive voice. It's not a bad thing. And this is just a short tutorial. You'd have to research it much further to understand it better. As a last comment on this subject, sentences in active voice tend to be more concise than in the passive voice. They flow better for the reader very often because fewer words are required in expressing the action in active voice than in a passive voice. So go back, look at a paragraph or two of something you've written and see if you can't find where, wait a minute, why did I say that the cake was baked by Margaret? It's true, the cake was baked by Margaret, but a more active approach to that line is, Margaret baked the cake. That's active voice. Anyway, take a look at the beauty. Sun's about to come in and start baking the front porch, although today is going to be a cool day. I hope it's a good one for you. I'll be back again. Take care. Bye now.